Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table podcast. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the Astropub, your space bar at the end of the universe, your professor on the Astro Historian, and your moderator here on the Captain's Table podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to the Star Citizen, talking about the Star Citizen lore, news, and more. We do this every week, or we try to do it every week, but it happens on Saturdays at 3 p.m. 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. No, 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I don't know where my brain's going. So you can join us live at twitch.tv/theastropub or youtube.com/@thecaptainstablепodcast. We'd love to have you join. Today, we are going to be talking about the finances of Star Citizen. The money. How is the money working? All that kind of stuff. And can they continue this sort of trajectory? But before we do that, let's introduce everyone. I'll introduce you to the current cast, starting with Tree0311. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
What's up, everybody? I'm Tree0311, Tree0311. You can find me at Tree0311 on YouTube and Twitch, and then the same I think it's dash SC or underscore SC on Twitter, because we don't call it X in my house. So I've been real busy this summer, but I try to stream pretty regularly. I'm the host and producer of the the Pathfinders podcast, where I follow the development of Star Citizen and Squadron 42 in great detail, and all that. And I also do an on again, off again show called Armchair Admirals and Generals, where we look at things in Star Citizen from a more military perspective. I take no monetization for myself. I donate everything to stackup.org. Veteran, Marine Corps infantry veteran from way back when, and I'm a current Army National Guard flight paramedic. I'm actually at a flight paramedic adjacent course at Fort Rucker right now, so I'm in my hotel room. But yeah, and so I'll hopefully be home. I should be home in a week, barring any world-ending wars or something.
Don't
Who knows
jinx
these
it.
days? Yeah.
You muted. Paul,
You muted, Paul.
We will be in a lot more problems if you aren't home in a week. If you if because of international issues, we're all in trouble.
Yep.
All right, and then we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Black Jurassic himself, one of the Neelix of Star Citizen, Fastcart underscore FC. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And where can they find you?
Greetings, everyone. I'm here to campaign on behalf of the CID developers. They really need your help. For a fraction of the cost of a Starbucks coffee a day, you can buy a $45 game package. Buying one would allow you to support the developer. That's right, you can feed the developer like Jared Huckabee a nursing meal. Also, you can put a smile on John Cruz's face. As a sponsor, you can exchange photos and letters with the sponsored developer. Every letter you get back will show you the growth and progress you helped make possible. Please, after all, greening rooms don't just grow on trees, or grow on tree 0311. You'll also receive Jump Point magazine, which explains why your help is needed urgently. Sponsorship is just a one-time $45 donation. So why don't you click now? This is truly no obligation, and you'll receive all the information you need so you can make your decision. Please click now. With a little of your spare change, you can start to change the life of a developer forever.
Someone needs to take that as a clip.
Yeah, clip that now.
And then put in the arms of the angel and the angels underneath that.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Ascot McLaughlin?
Yes.
I was going to say I wanted to put Sarah McLaughlin music in the background, but I knew that would be
demonetized instantly. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Fastcart FC, also known as just Fastcart OXC. I'm a producer for Soul Citizens. We air every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 11 p.m. UTC. Yeah, I'm thrown out by what I've done, so I need to get back into what I do. But yes, I am a producer. I'm also on the People's Radio. Once a month, I just did a set for a music show there. So Flights of Rhythm. So yeah, check me out there, and yeah, come by this whole citizen tomorrow.
Awesome. Let me start up the bot so people can actually ask questions. Run
It's
bots.
gonna
Go.
be such a struggle for me to get back on track.
As Copy says, such an emotional delivery.
Yes.
I tried. I tried. It's hard not to smile.
All right.
Targo, that's probably the longest introduction yet. Yep, you're right.
Probably. All right. Bot is up. We're good to go. All right. So, as I said, we're talking about the finances of Star Citizen. Because typically Fastcart actually tracks a lot of this information himself as well. I'm going to let Fastcart tell us a little bit, at least a little bit about both how much money they've made so far, but I also want the main question, why are they so successful this year? What is it about this year you think that makes them so successful this year compared to previous years? And for the context of that, I'll let Fastcart explain how much money they've earned, overall.
I'm going to go back a few years because, before 2020, they were making 47 million or less. Like 2012 was the first year, 7 million. And then between 2013 and 2018, they bounced between 28 million and 37 million. And I forgot what happened in 2019, they had the last Citizen Con before, everything went to crap. That was in Manchester, I want to say. So that probably would help. Yeah, they had a big December in 2019. But starting in 2020, that's when they started having Invictus. Invictus launch week in May. And I don't know if people recall, but they made a lot of money that first year because of Invictus. So they jumped from 47 million to 78 million in 2020. And then they've been slowly but steadily growing since 2020 up to now. But yeah, as you say, this year, I don't know, like, how many times can you be in the Guinness Book of World Records for one thing, Paul? Do you know?
As many as you pay them for, apparently.
Yeah, man. Oh, okay, that's how it works.
Yes.
Because they're already at 95 million. We discussed this before the show. $95 million for the year, and they're at
They were at that at the end of November last year.
Right, end of November last year. So
the middle beginning of Invictus, or not Invictus, of IAE last year. So
they're almost at 870 million for total. That's not including the subscription and other event stuff that's purely for what people buy. Excuse me, what people buy from packages, ships, and little flares and stuff like that. Not flares, but little equipment and stuff like that.
You don't think the
pledge stuff?
Do you think the subscriptions aren't added to the overall tracker?
As far as I know, they're not counted.
Oh, okay.
No, when they do the annual,
it's different.
Yeah, when they do the annual thing, it falls under a different income slot on their spreadsheets that they put out, and so I don't think they put that on. I don't think I've ever read either way, but I don't think they put that on the pledge counter because it is counting. It is a pledge counter,
Yeah.
And so but I don't think that.
And as far they never told us publicly, the backers, how much they make in the subscription. They only published what the game packages shipped and armor and whatnot that we can buy off the website. The subscription is not included with that. But there's no subscription is supposed to support ISC, SCL. I don't think they support Citizen Con, stuff like that, but they support, the developer community content that they produce on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. The thing about this year is really weird, is that they're not just like every single month except for one was the best of that month. So like it was the best January they've ever had, best February, best March, April, May. I think June, it was the second best June they've ever had. And then July was the best
barely,
July. Just barely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean,
and you know what?
It was the Blades. It was the Blades controversy that caused that to drop because it was literally right when that happened is when that came out. And so that's sort of a delayed reaction because it slowly got out to the rest of it. But sorry, you were saying?
I was going to say April was a slow month because they didn't put out a patch that month.
Yeah,
That's one of the months that they didn't put out a patch.
and it was still the best month, the April they've ever had. So, and then this is the best. So it's been the best August, July, August, September, so far. And it was the best. It was the best September before they released the Apollo. so, yeah, and June was second.
Turns out putting out monthly content helps when it comes to I wonder if that's why mobile games do it every other week.
Well, the other thing that's important to note is that up until the this part of the year, they kind of had ebbed and flowed, where like the actual number of new accounts had sort of slowed down. But starting in July, well, even starting in July, it was actually starting in August. You see a new accounts started to uptick to the point where they're now overtaking the overall, the last year at least. I don't know if it's the best ever, but it's pretty close. So it's one thing if it's like just money, because maybe returning backers or whales spending money in this, but we also see new accounts coming in. So there's something as weird is going on with Star Citizen's funding, going from a good year but lower than previous years, last year, to this insanely record year. Fastcard, you said content. Do you think that's the thing that's driving the sales?
Yeah, I think it's mostly content, putting out patches almost every month. The stability helps too. That brought people back who they're taking a break. Yes, those two primarily, and people seem to enjoy the ship that they're putting out.
Okay, so
Plus, people have been waiting for the Apollo and whatnot for a while.
Yeah, I mean, even ships that weren't as popular, like the Tavaran Utility and the Misk Fortune, they're not very popular, but those months that they released were still their best months they've done. So, and Jin saying we're new citizens over year over year every month since June, so like increase it. Okay.
Question for you two, real quick. Have you bought anything this year from CIG?
Personally, not for giveaways.
Yeah.
I think. That's the problem is that like I know I got the MTC. I got the MTC skins, but I don't know if I kept the MTC. Look at my
I got a couple of the armor and skin this year, and this IAE I'm planning on getting the Constellation Phoenix for IAE.
Yeah, so
I did buy an MTC. I bought the
the Geo. I bought the Geo.
Geo, okay.
That came out this year too. I forgot the Geo came out in March. So.
Stay true.
I bought NASCAR because of course I bought NASCAR, and I bought one paint. I bought the Trauma Team paint for the Apollo. I think that's all I've bought this year.
Nothing groundbreaking that was produced this month, but I got a bunch of us are buying these stuff that make it different.
Yeah, I mean, like I got some skins, and then I got the MTC and 2 Geos. So like, I've spent less than $100 on this game this year, and it was spread out over the course of the entire year. So yeah, I haven't spent a lot personally. But because most of the stuff that was coming out, stuff I already had. So the most I did was buy some paints and other things like that. But okay, I think you already answered that, Fastcard. Let's move on to Tree on this one. Same question to you, Tree. What is going on? Why is CIG suddenly making a ton more money and getting a lot more like new citizens involved in the game? Do you think it's just the releases?
I mean, the content definitely helps because you get people coming back and playing every month in order to try the new content. Now, we all know that the content has had a lot of issues, but people still come back and try it. And that's a live service game, for any game. If you as long as you have more, a constant stream of content, people will continue to play your game, month after month, year after year. The other big thing is the stability. Yeah, we can shit all over CIG for the how the content itself has been launched, the issues with it. But people have still been able to play it without the game just absolutely taking a shit on them like it used to. I mean, the CIG is not wrong when your play sessions are longer, dramatically longer on average, and you have people returning to play longer on average. The more you expose people to your game, the more likely they are to spend money. That's just a consumer psychology thing that is specific to live service games. And then when they have new stuff to buy coming out every month, whether it's variants and paints and all that, like it accounts for all that. But at the same time, you know, we, this year is really highlighting glaring issues with that, and CIG brought it up themselves. Is that okay? Cool. Like getting out a patch every month is neat for having new content to try out. Obviously, they've got a lot of work to do to make those rollouts work better. Um, but with the current version of long-term persistence, it is really really showing its age. But CIG has all hands on deck on engineering wise on features for Squadron and bug fixing for Squadron, and a limited set of engineers working on Star Citizen who are very likely all hands on deck on dynamic server meshing related systems, being transit and ATC. And so, but and so like we know, like last year that they had gotten started on the work for long-term persistence 2.0. Where is that right now? Because that's the really the next thing for CIG if they want to continue this is getting long-term persistence working, so that way every month when they drop a patch, because you see it in your Discord, I see it in my Discord, we see it in everybody's Discord, is people reporting oh great, new patch dropped and I've got all these issues with my persistence. I lost these components that I worked so hard for, or this ship and everything. It's that only CIG can only um the patience for that is going to wear thin for people, and they're only going to be distracted by the new shiny. I think for so long, if that persists, and so we'll see in terms of the how long they can keep it going. But I think that with dynamic server meshing development and then being able to pivot or work on long-term persistence, I think that is what will help carry them through. But I think they have to get that in before they can get in the things that they can further monetize to really cement themselves long term,
Okay.
viably.
I'm still baffled myself because the biggest problem we have right now is that
Not on bingo card.
well, yeah, baffled's not on the bingo card. It's just it seems like more people are playing the game than ever because it's not just money; it's also more people are interested. But I also haven't seen a relative increase in social media posts about Star Citizen. It's not a decrease necessarily, but it's been mostly on par with maybe a little bit of decrease. And nothing in, not a lot of my chat that seems to indicate that a ton of people, or a lot of my comments and such, that seem to indicate that a lot of new people are trying the game. So I think what we have possibly is an actual real life game. This is which is
no.
I know,
really?
I know it's strange.
Say it ain't so.
Because all of these factors are actually indicating or indications that people are playing and people are engaged in the game. Even CIG seems to be saying that hundreds of thousands of people play this game on a regular basis. I'm sure their monthly concurrency is like several hundred thousand. It's got to be at this point with everything I've seen.
A lot more people are playing the game as if it's a game.
Yes, and people are playing it, so they're not talking about it as much, which is good and bad. Because it's good, it means that people are playing and not talking about it. But typically, if people are enjoying themselves, they'll take a moment to like gush about it on social media. You just don't see that much, you know. So yeah, it's weird. It's a weird feeling. But I mean, and you kind of already preempted this. But do you think this is tenable? That CIG can keep this sort of money up there, Tree?
I'm gonna ask him first. Okay.
Yeah, because then I'll get to you, Pascard. You sort of started this a little bit.
I think that they're going to have some momentum. Like if we're talking about continuing this for into next year, I think given that they have plans for content and everything going into next year with some things that should be pretty interesting. Like when they talked about Jared mentioned uh, the being able to do R&R on your capital ship, and they said that was something they're working on and it's planned for content this next year. I think that they have some bigger plans content wise that are going to get even more people coming in and playing the game like it's a game. I think there's going to be a segment of the community that's going to be a little bit, going to get a little bit tired of, it's not a hard reset, but it's still a soft reset when we have all these patch issues with long-term persistence. But I think that, I honestly think that we will be well into testing of this next dev branch, um, before the end of this year, if not released to live. The first patch on this next dev branch with Vulkan and all that, and I think that alongside of the tech previews of features going into next year is going to drive a lot of engagement. But I think long term, yeah, Squadron will give them a bump. End of next year, rolling into 2027, which will, I think, probably carry them forward until they get dynamic server meshing in alongside the long-term persistence 2.0, and then the features that benefits from. And when I talk about features that benefit from that, I talk about things that are customization things that CIG is going to monetize the shit out of.
We hope.
Yeah. Well, they like the in the comms dive they just talked about. They reiterated that they still plan on allowing us to customize and expand and do things with our hangars. CIG is going to monetize the fuck out of that.
Oh yeah, they already have.
So yeah, all the decorations, all the things. There's going to be monetization involved in that. It's something for everybody, but CIG can't monetize that until they can get it working in the game, and that's what they have to have enough content coming through over the next year to transition to them to that next phase.
Yeah. All right. Fast card. Is this momentum continuing? Can CIG keep this momentum up through next year and beyond with this sort of insane funding boost?
I'm surprised they kept this momentum up after 6 months of this year. Because typically when they make a change, like they tried to do quarterly. It's not quarterly.
Yeah, it was quarterly.
Yeah, they tried to do quarterly patches, and they couldn't sustain that. But that was back when they had like 500 developers instead of 1,000. So I think they probably have enough developers, or if they don't have enough, they can hire more so they can sustain it. But I mean, the way that CIG operates is that every January or February, January, they have a meeting to discuss what they're going to do for that year. And well, I mean, I guess they kind of announced it back in December. Like Chris Roberts said they were going to do this in December, but January is when they actually plan out the logistics and everything. So I'm guessing like December this year will probably. They'll probably tell us what they have planned for next year. But yeah, I don't see them changing it unless Squadron 42 takes up there's a big change they have to do in 2022 to make them have to take off developers from Star Citizen and put them back on 2022. I don't see that happening, but who knows? It's like Jared said, we can't predict the future.
Mhm.
But I mean, hopefully if things go to plan, if they plan well, maybe they'll be able to sustain it. For how long, I have no clue. Like every year. At the end of the year, we're all asking, this has been CID's most successful year. Can it sustain this? Every other year we say no, and why don't belong.
Yeah.
So I stopped betting against CIG. Like they're at 95 million right now for this year. Who knows what they'll be at this time next year? So I wouldn't bet against them, but we'll have to see.
Okay.
When the other thing with the how much money they've made this year is they have this year has been a year of this year and last year a year of leaning themselves out and getting more efficient in terms of uh, not having redundant positions or reallocating positions to places where it's more cost effective for them to have those positions. Montreal, Frankfurt, and Manchester. That was a big thing that they talked about in the financial audit that came out. Was that last month or the month before?
Mm.
But it was for last year.
Yeah.
That was one of the big things. And so their total head count is actually down from where it was a year or two ago, from 2023, end of 2023. Now it's going to grow back up from there for sure. But the fact that they are doing that in a way where it's far more cost effective for them. It's uh, the even though they're making a crap ton more money, they don't need as much money to keep them to keep them going. Their burn rate isn't what it was, at least in terms of personnel. But this year, like when we get our when this year or this time next year when we're looking at sort of expenses and stuff, when we get some sort of peek into that, we're going to look at server meshing was expensive before
Yeah.
they got dynamic in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think the question was that can they keep up this pace, right? That was what we're talking about. I don't know. The thing is
I'm
that
the same way.
it's just such a weird thing to look at because I don't think CIG is going to keep the same pace as this year. Benoit all
When you
said
think they'll
it.
slow down?
Yeah, they said they're going to slow down.
When you think they'll slow down?
Oh, March or next year. So like I think we'll have a patch in like January, February to kind of cover up with whatever the last patches of the year to kind of fix some issues and maybe add a few little bits of content. But then then we won't have another patch until March, and then we'll have like one maybe two .x patches, and then it'll be like June, or July, and then
And is that because of Squadron 42 or because of independent of Squadron 42?
It seems like they're at the stage because what Benoit was talking about and what CIG seems to be posturing is that they are at the limit of what they can do in terms of adding new content. That's just adding new content. They're in the phase of doing dynamic server meshing and releasing engineering and doing Vulkan and doing all these other things. So these things will become more of the priority going forward, because the game just needs those in the game in order to do more content that's more engaging. Like you can actually see with Onyx that like Onyx clearly does need some engineering that's missing from the Onyx facilities. It's a great missions, but the last little bit of Hyperion is it fizzles. It's not really a full punch at the end the way you'd expect it to happen, like a good satisfying ending. It just sort of happens. So it's like there needs to be crafting or engineering, or there need to be something in there along with like a bit large boss battle.
Radar
like
and
that.
scanning.
Yeah.
Like they just talked about this in the medical design brief of all the things that have been holding back the further development of medical gameplay, and like one of the big things was radar and scanning. And so like they're working on medical gameplay right now. Actually see like the next big iteration or dump of medical gameplay. But because the dev branch that they've been working on for over well over a year now, the
Mhm.
essentially the SC version of the Squadron 42 dev branch, it's been in dev for over a year now, and we're just now starting to tech preview it. And which means next year we'll be tech previewing the features that have been developed on that branch for years.
Mhm.
Are going to be getting integrated. And I think that's going to drive a lot of attention. But I think there's, with Squadron 42, in that late polish phase and requiring less engineering work or work of engineers to do the polish aspect of it. I think next year is, those people are going to be, finally, I roll, uh, being the ones that, are part of that process of doing these tech preview builds for the features that we've been waiting on. But those features aren't going to, I don't think they're going to immediately roll out with new content in the patch that they, because they talked about how they could, like, the this patch could come out and they would start to preview for that feature and it would roll over, and then they could turn it, essentially like turn
Yeah.
it on. And I don't think that we're going to see new content, like the what we've been getting this year,
Mhm.
Immediately with those features as they come online. Like, yeah, we'll have engineering in our ships, but we're not going to immediately have a whole bunch of engineering style puzzles,
Yeah.
like in different levels. But it's a step. It's a big step. The um, that thing they just announced, the Super Evo,
Yeah.
whatever they want to call it, for the flight model stuff. They're already going to start testing that stuff out. And that's built on that branch. And so that can only drive engagement. It just depends on, will that keep people following the game, or will it actually get them to play the game as well?
That's a good question. Um, because new content is important, but like, there's plenty of games that do complete overhauls. Like X did a complete overhaul of its flight mechanics after they hired the person who was in charge of the original flight systems for Star Citizen. They're doing a big diplomacy update, but I haven't seen a lot of traction of people talking about X outside of the X community. But like, No Man's Sky drops Corvettes and suddenly everyone's losing their mind. So that's a good question in terms of like, can new features also drag people in?
Starfield dropped new content. People were talking about that again for a little bit, for a
Yeah.
little while. Then
So,
they just tape it off again.
so I think another thing that's sort of both of y'all mentioned is the kind of the elephant in the room is Squadron. Um, because CIG still seems to be
Big
setting,
elephant.
yeah, it's supposed to come out in 2026. I know a lot of people are pessimistic. A, we're already pessimistic because it's CIG, but B, because of Jared's comments, even though it was clarified that they don't think that Squadron's coming out in 2026.
That was overblown.
It was.
As soon as you said that, I was like, Jared, what the fuck, man?
Jared,
I know you've
I
been on camera
See,
for
I
2 hours, but
love
Jesus.
I love you,
I didn't even
Jared,
pick
but
it up.
sometimes you need to learn. Like, this is not the first time he's done that. We've all seen
I know,
him do
but-
that and have been like, no, don't do that.
Speaking from the heart, okay?
He
He's speaking
is.
from the heart.
But that's the reason why he gets so much shit from people in the community. It's like, it's okay. It's okay to speak from the heart if you're like, if you have
Better bar citizen.
yeah. He's it's,
Well, and how much time has been spent by him and like the community team and stuff coaching devs to not say shit like
yeah.
that?
At the end of the day, though, it's a video game company. Every
Mhm.
every company, every person I know who worked for a video game company, and most video game companies, they're always that sort of foul-mouthed, child at heart, sort of, have Nerf gun fights in the office, and pull pranks on each other, and have potty humor everywhere, kind of thing. Like it's and most of these people are between the ages of 30 and 60. Like, so we're not talking about, super young guys doing super young guy things. These are developers in many cases who've decades of experience in gaming still baking poop jokes. Then again, we're all gamers. We bake poop jokes, and we're in our aged times.
Some of us do voice and poop jokes, but I'm not going to. That's enough of that.
No. But
how come when you use the toilet in Jump Space, it doesn't generate materia? That's what I want to know.
So, fun story about
Why is
that.
it not a waste recycler? You eat a pizza, you make a pizza materia, you put it in the toilet,
it should recycle
generates
it.
materia.
You should get some of that materia back. So, Loken, when we were playing Jump Space, by the way, go buy Jump Space if you're listening to this or watching this.
Buy Jump
Just
Space,
go buy it.
absolutely.
If you like Star Citizen,
support those devs. It's a great game.
If you like space games, you like multi-crew games. If you've been waiting for engineering, you should go buy it. But Loken was first playing it, and he found the toilet, and he didn't see. He had just gotten like a tier 3 assault rifle, and he didn't see what the button was, and he hit Q over the toilet while he was holding his tier 3 assault rifle, and flushed it into space. He got one back eventually, but it was just like, no.
But the fact that works,
yes,
it does that. That is such a Deep Rock Galactic thing to do too, and that's why I love it.
I'm from what I'm gathering after talking with the devs, that's just a Swedish developer thing to do. That's just what Swedish developers decide is fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
God bless them.
But I think Squad 42 is the elephant in the room in the sense that it coming out, if it comes out in 2026, the funding tracker is not going to fucking matter. Let's just be honest. Like, no matter what, the game is going to get a lot of traction because of the names involved in it. And unless CIG entirely bombs it, even if it's just sort of okay right away, you're going to get a lot of people interested to buying it just because of Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, John Rhys Davies, Liam Cunningham, all of the people who are involved. Even if they just mention it on their social medias a couple of times, people will buy it.
You see, I had to put back a little bit on that, Paul, because it's been so like. I remember they making a big push in 2015 when they did all the interviews with the stars of Squadron 42, because it seemed like they were hoping for a 2016 release at that time.
Yeah.
So I think like even though we have all these big name stars, how do I put this diplomatically? Us old folk remember them, but they may not be as big to the younger demographic. I put it that way.
It could be, but
so 10 years ago, I think it might have made a bigger splash than in 2016 than in 2026.
We have to realize, we have to remember though that CIG isn't used to these rapid infusions, and because the game will launch and it will be live, and even though I think it'll be, that it will have more sustained sales over time, but it won't reach it. It'll take a while to reach its peak.
Yeah.
But even so, CIG's biggest months on the funding tracker are less than $20 million. Yeah. Out of a year, and so things in the funding tracker are generally a bit more sustained. Other than IAE and Invictus Launch Week, sort of steady income stream. But when Squadron launches, they'll probably sell, anywhere from 1 to several million copies at what, $60 a pop? You're muted, bud.
Did you? Okay.
Paul lost his voice.
You muted Paul. You muted Paul.
I'm here. Anyway, so yeah, and there's no publishing costs or anything like that. Like if it's all to launch Squadron. So if they sell 1 million copies, which I'm sure is a very low number, in my opinion, that's $60 million. That's
All right.
That's
Can you hear me
like
now?
over half of what. Yep, we got you.
Okay, good.
Yay, welcome back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear
So
you.
I was going to say, I actually did
Welcome back to your show.
my show. So I did some quick math. We know that Jump Space, they said they released that they sold 250,000 copies. It's
In a week.
a week. Yeah, and it's Jump Space. It's not.
Mhm.
It wasn't one of the top sellers at the time. I don't remember it being in the top billing. It didn't get a lot of buzz outside of like the niche communities. And they sold it at $20. So yeah, that helped a little bit. But with Star Citizen or with Squadron 42, if they sold it at $60 at 250,000 copies, they would make 15 million. You know, and so 250,000 isn't an unheard of number for a game that hasn't been sold in years in terms of Star Citizen. And if they do things like go on Steam and other things like that, they'll reach audiences that never heard of it before. So
Yeah, I think in the first month,
I don't think they're
well
gonna
over
do
a million
Steam.
or multiple millions of copies.
yeah,
In the first, in the first month, first couple months, which is, they'll do an entire year's worth of funding in the first quarter of sales
yeah.
of just Squadron, while SC is still churning along, and that's nuts to think about.
I don't think there's a situation where Star Citizen, because the other thing is that the stars themselves may not always be the selling point, but just look at the IGN trailer of Squadron 42 and look at the numbers it did and the reaction it had. The game looks beautiful. CIG clearly is working hard on that sort of thing. So I think the only thing that can really kill it is if CIG bungles the launch in terms of releasing it at the wrong time or releasing it head to head against GTA, or if CIG releases a broken game that just doesn't work. It has to work.
2026 is looking quite crowded too, because there are other sci-fi space games coming out in 2026 as well. So yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. So
when did they take Squadron 42 off the story?
2023.
2 years ago,
2023.
right?
Yeah, 2023. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a couple million new backers since then. Not to mention however many before that didn't buy Squadron.
And there's plenty of people who will buy Squadron and never buy Star Citizen because they're different games,
Just out of the community that already plays Star Citizen, you are looking at a couple million a couple million copies
Easy
to sell. Easy.
Some
Without
people
even reaching outside of our own community.
Yeah, some people see a Squadron 42 trailer and say, "This is a Star Citizen killer."
Yeah. My favorite comment is somebody on the IGN trailer commented. It's one of the top 3 comments in YouTube said, "I can't believe people are having this positive about a Star Citizen video," and the comment right below it was, "Because this isn't Star Citizen." And then that comment was just replied to. It's no, this is Star Citizen. This is the single player version of Star Citizen. Comment alone.
Oh, that's the thumbnail quote.
Yeah.
Squadron 42 is the Star Citizen killer.
Yes. The thing about it is and that's when it comes back to funding, is that any sales of Squadron is a sale of Star Citizen. It just goes to the same pool, the same bucket that goes into it.
Right.
And CIG pulls that money out of that bucket to do whatever they want to. So I think if they slow down next year, they may still have a record year in terms of funding, even if the pledges aren't as good this next year as it is previous years. We may even have seen a situation where the funding goes back down to less than 100 million again. But if they release Squadron and it does well financially, they'll just absolutely destroy their full years of fundings. So
I don't think next year will be under 100 million. Maybe the year after. Well, it depends. But yeah, I don't think next year. If they make less money next year, it won't be. It'll be consistent with 2022, 2023, 2024, in my opinion.
Yeah, because that's kind of what happens. It peaks and then they sort of go down, and then there's the sudden peak, and then it comes back down.
It goes again.
Yeah.
Space Tomato, we were talking about how Squadron 42 is going to be the Star Citizen killer.
Yes. Ironically, we did a video where the title was Star Citizen, could Squadron 42 kill Star Citizen? Because if it like that's
It's-
that's a different concern. That that if Squadron 42 bombs, it could take Star Citizen with it. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's possible.
So
Yeah, we'll see.
I do think the CIG approach to doing QA for it though is a solid approach. The fact that hey, we are testing the branch of code that Squadron is running on right now in tech preview, and we will be testing it, through the end of this year, and hopefully it going to millions of players, end of this year, beginning of next year. Same code branch. It's up in a networked environment, working off of all these different systems. And then any data that they get from us playing SC on it gets migrated back in to do the finishing touches on Squadron. Without having to pay for a few thousand QA testers from some QA company. We're paying them to do the QA for I don't know of anyone that's ever done it that way, and it's logical. The question is, can they execute? No pun intended, execute Australia, but
yes,
can they execute on it? And I think that they can, and I think the worry about the game having big issues, given what they're doing, is probably a bit overblown. If we're playing on the Squadron 42 branch for a year before it launches, congratulations, we're playing the Squadron 42 beta without the without the storyline.
Yeah, I wanted to make a couple of points. One, you mentioned, Paul, if they manage to get it on Steam or Epic or what not, yeah, they can make a killing. But as far as we know now, I don't see that happening. I hope it does, but if they get on Steam, it'll be great. They'll make a lot of money because they have a lot more eyeballs and stuff like that. People to see it.
This is a trust me, bro source, but this is for myself, but somebody who I know, multiple people actually, who work at CIG have told me off the books that it is going to Steam. It was sort of a mistake on their parts for talking to me about it, but they're like, yeah, it's going to Steam. It was like, oh, sorry, all right. We haven't talked about that yet.
What now?
It's percentage that they take now. It's changed.
It's like 40, but you can also negotiate. You can negotiate for higher ones depending what you do. So yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, Steam does take a 30% cut, but they would also sell more copies. So it's a trade-off, and CIG doesn't have to pay any money to a publisher because they don't have a publisher. So it's not like a typical AAA title where you have to pay the publisher, pay Steam, and then you get like a crumb back sort of thing. So.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to address, Amicus Nagi in chat said next year lower Squadron 42 is coming out. CIG will have an entire avenue of funding. See, I don't know. Yes, in the past, Squadron 42 has contributed to Star Citizen funding, at least on that page. But I don't know if they're going to keep that up, because.
No, I don't think once it's released, it's not a pledge. Once it's released, it's a game. So.
But no, I'm saying, but do you think that they'll put it on a crowdfunding tracker?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure either. So
especially if CIG is doing selling it in Epic Store and GOG and everywhere else. I don't see them how are you going to capture that information? So
right. So when Squadron 42 comes out, I think that it'll just switch to just a Star Citizen crowdfunding tracker. So that's what I'm saying. The money, the funding tracker may go down next year. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the last little bit before we go into the question and answer session, which is, I'll try to have you tackle a couple of these questions, because people talked about alternate funding models for Star Citizen.
Oh boy,
there is definitely something that people seem to believe. There's this belief, an earnest belief, amongst both backers and content creators that Star Citizen cannot continue to sell ships as part of its funding model. Not because it is bad, but because as Star Citizen grows into an actual video game when it releases the 1.0 status, that people, the average person who's just like, ooh, gee whiz, this looks like a fun, neat little space game. I'm going to hop on. And they hop on and say, why do I have to spend $4,000 to get this ship? This looks like a pay to win piece of shit. I'm out. When you reach the audience levels that CIG is hoping for at release, which it's going to get, because just the fact that Star Citizen's releasing, the title of after 17 years Star Citizen finally releases, that's just
Right.
that's a fucking click. It's a click machine. People will click it, you know?
Right.
And the like that sort of larger context and that sort of larger exposure to the to the gaming community is going to draw more eyes. And there's been criticism, myself included, that says that CIG can't continue this sort of funding model forever. Eventually, they're going to have to transition away from pure ship sales into some other form. Now, the people I've seen who are the most passionate about this argument say that it has to be a subscription service. That the only way Star Citizen survives is if it's a subscription. I have problems with that, but you know, are there is that the case? Is that, do you think that's the solution? Or do you think there is a mixed version? Is there any specific way of going for it? Fastcart, what do you think?
I don't think they're going to, because they already have a subscription service. That's for the the community development videos that we talked about earlier. So I don't see them doing two subscription services. I mean, they could, but I don't see them doing it. I think they'll still do the community development and they'll keep that. But I mean, for me personally, I still see them doing like layers and little microtransactions and stuff like that. Now the question is, how far will they go with the microtransactions? I made a joke a couple of shows ago on the Captain Table saying that when base building comes out, they could sell like time enhancement
Yeah.
to make your base building go
God, I
faster.
hope
People
not.
hated that idea for obvious reason, but I mean it's possible. But I don't see them doing that. But yeah, they could have microtransactions and survive on that. Whether or not they'll, well, it depends on how they do it and what they sell, how much money they make a year on that.
Okay. Tree?
I think that anyone in this day and age that thinks that CIG will go subscription model pay to play, where you have to pay a subscription to play the game, is on crack. That model
But-
all but died.
But Tree, WoW does that, and WoW is the biggest MMO in the world. You know.
WoW also has a free to play option, but like
Yeah. For the first 3 levels. Yeah.
yeah, that's WoW. But look at the all the other big live service games, all the other big MMOs. Everyone else does monetization. You buy the game, and then you can buy DLC. And more importantly, microtransactions.
Yeah.
And microtransactions, doesn't matter how much you hate them, microtransactions are consumer economics 101, especially in video games. And Space Tomatoes in chat, and I know that I've talked about it with him. I've talked about it with you, Paul. But for this game is designed around more ownership for more avenues of ownership for players than any game in history. And with ownership comes customization. So you have ownership over your character, you have ownership over your base, you'll have ownership over your hab equipment, you'll have ownership over your hangar, you have ownership over your ship, and God knows what else in the future. And every single one of those things, has customization options that CIG can monetize. And it go, from paints to furniture, to mood lighting, like all these different things, that you can sell, and people can earn it in game as well. Earning it in game drives sales. But like that will make far more money than any submodel ever will. But that's part of a diverse funding model where you have people buying the game package, and they will still sell ships. I just don't think they're going to continue to make ships like they have been, or be reliant on the ship model. Because and people forget that releasing a ship doesn't mean like, oh, sweet, the ship's done. No, that devs have to constantly update the ships and make them work. And the amount of work that they're going to have to get every ship up to the 1.0 gold standard. It's it requires a whole lot of dev work versus in order to put in props and things that you can interact with and things that look cool for your character on up, like that's far easier and cheaper dev work to make that. And that's why games do it. And they are already working separating the paint skin thing from your armor and weapons. Like that's already something that they're refactoring that system so that way it's separate, because then they can sell the paint without selling you an armor. And the whole when people are worried about duping, like it really helps to eliminate a big part of the duping problem, because people can't, if you use that to make it so that way, okay, well, I can loot the armor, but I don't get the I don't get the claim option to uh, you make it so you can't really dupe those custom, the pledged items and everything that people buy, because you're getting the paint and you can apply it. But I think that's where the big money is going to be, but alongside episode 2 and 3 of Squadron and other single player campaigns.
Star Citizen Privateer.
Six Platoon. Six Platoon will make more money than a single episode of Squadron 42. I absolutely guarantee that, because when people say that Squadron 42 and Star Citizen are niche games because you fly spaceships, and I'm like, well, it's an FPS game that you get to fly spaceships in.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of people, there's a huge wants nothing to do with flying spaceships. That's why we have so much FPS content. You make an FPS game where you don't fly the spaceships, and everybody loves ODST. Everybody loves Space Marines. Everybody loves drop ships and drop pods.
Yeah,
that would sell like fucking crazy.
Yeah, a simplified like a Ghost Recon, but Star Citizen. Yeah, I can see it. Fast Card, you were gonna say something?
An idea for a money making idea just popped into my head. So to talk about NPC crew, what if CIG introduces like a gacha system for different tiers of NPCs? They have an SSR tier for an engineer that can do things twice as fast as like an R tier, a rare tier NPC crew, and because everyone wants a HUD bundle or waifu, so they'll sell like hotcakes.
I
think
CIG, the funniest part is that like that's how CIG is planning on doing the system. Just they won't sell them for cash. That's the only difference. But yeah.
Yeah, and CIG pulled Blades off the store.
Yeah.
CIG took an absolute shellacking for monetizing gameplay like that. At risk of sounding hopelessly optimistic, I think that they have probably been like, okay, that was not a good decision. The community has spoken. I think they will have learned that lesson for a period of time where, okay, they're not going to monetize gameplay, but they are working hard towards being able to monetize more things that you can do in game and then have more access to that.
I lit up a firestorm in chat when I said
yes,
that.
You made that joke and everyone loses their mind. I see a lot of people saying like, oh no, it's subscription is the way. Here's the thing. I think subscription has a place in Star Citizen. They already have a subscription service. It's pretty successful.
Oh yeah.
They just
I think that'll get expanded. Yeah, not
they just need
for playing.
An optional subscription that expands it so that if you're a super hardcore Star Citizen fan, it becomes I need this subscription for $10 or $15 or $20. So it's like, oh yeah, because it gives you just enough perks so that if you're like, you've got a big base, and it's kind of like the paying for in EVE, where I think you have to like pay pretty regularly to control a territory. I think it's in ISK, so it's one of those things where you can pay for it in real money, and then it has real money value, and you have to like upkeep your ownership of it. Um, and so I do think that subscriptions have a place, but as a subscription based service entirely, no. There would be a riot. People have already spent $1,000 on the game, aren't going to pay for a subscription. And as much as it pains me to say this, we have physical proof recently of how that would kill the game, which is I always forget the name of it, but it recently came out. It has similar technology to server meshing, and it was a space game, similar like Space Engineers, where like, but it was,
Oh,
you know what
yeah.
I'm talking about.
Yep.
I'm blanking on Dual Universe.
Dual Universe.
Dual
Yeah.
Universe, okay.
And Dual Universe did a subscription program, and it was like you bought the game, you got some certain number of subscriptions, and you'd have to continue. It's dead. The company's closing up shop, and didn't work. Now they are doing the right thing, and they're like giving the
How
code
long
to
ago?
the fans.
When did it come out?
3 years ago, 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, but like they couldn't generate enough interest in their universe to keep people paying for it, so it just sort of died. So
I do hope that they, instead of like giving you out a random armor set or a random paint set, like I want tokens to be able to, okay, I pay a subscription and I get a token for a weapon skin, an armor skin, and a ship paint every month, or that sort of thing based off of the subscription level, and that way I can go into an in-game store and pick which one I want. Like a World of Warships, you pay money, you get some of the in-game currency, and you can get their ships, but you can also get the skins for them and look cool. That like that's kind of what I would rather see than the way they do it now. The way they do it now is built on the legacy system, and it's frustrating. It's like, okay, cool, I got this armor set that I don't think looks good, and now it's just taking up space in my inventory, and I don't want it.
yeah, no, I
Why can't I convert it into materia?
exactly. I do think that there's just going to be a hybrid system, but I also think that CIG is gonna have to back off of the ship sales. I think that's just going to have to be a thing. And I think that when we reach 1.0, larger ship sales are going to have to disappear. Or they're going to have to change in such a fundamental way where players have access to those ships the same time as people who've purchased them. Like you can go buy them in game the same time, but you just have to actually spend your in-game cash and all that kind of stuff. So it becomes more of a convenience to purchase it rather than an advantage necessarily.
Yeah.
See,
Forever
Paul,
adding
you
to the
say
ship
that.
library is a maintenance nightmare.
Yeah.
For CIG.
Paul, you say that like 10 years ago or 8 years ago, I would have said like, oh, CIG is just going to do game packages after Star Citizen releases. But I've come to evolve my thinking on that. I think Chris Roberts made an offhand remark one time on 10 for the Chairman or one of those older shows.
Yeah.
He said that manufacturers in Star Citizen can make different ships like based on the model of the year.
Yeah.
So we see a Mustang model for like 2953, and then another Mustang model for 2957. It'll be different or what have you, and both will still be in the game. So you say that, but I mean, I'm hearing that. I'm remembering that in the back of my head. So CID can still sell ships based on year model.
Don't get me wrong. I think CIG is selling ships forever. They can't get away from that. They make too much money off of it. But I do think that the way they sell ships and how it functions is going to have to fundamentally change in order for CIG to not scare the shit out of your normies who come into the game, because it needs to be, and other games have done it similarly, that most of those games are paid are free to play rather than pay to play. So that kind of
my prediction is after 1.0, no ship will sell with LTI.
That's true. Yeah, I think we'll have some changes to how ship sales work, but I also think the insurance system has changed enough that it's going to start playing in game. Things like the warranty is going to start mattering more than what type of insurance you have and all those sorts of things. So yeah, I think I think long term they're going to have to and I think both of you all have said this, but microtransactions have to be a thing. Customization has to be a big thing. The whole story about how pets made more money in WoW than the entirety of StarCraft 2. So
Flat
just
cats.
the sale of pets in WoW made more money than the entire launch of StarCraft 2 is insanity. And those are the things people fundamentally, I think CIG doesn't understand impulse purchases because they're like, get this red skin for your ship at $40. It's like, no, CIG, that's not an impulse. Like, make it $3 and maybe people will purchase it.
Make it $5 at the most, yeah.
So
people want to have their Porthos on their wannabe enterprise.
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I think that's our discussion on the financial situation of CIG. It's looking good, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. But it may hit some bumps as it gets closer, especially as we see things like Squadron 42. Make sure you check out Fast. Go ahead.
Before you end, I just want to make a couple of last minute pleas. Remember, please click below for your fair change the life of a developer. And Dodgenator, I'm still waiting on my delivery. So yeah, that those two.
With that, make sure you check out Fastcart on Soul Citizens, and you can check out Tree0311 on his site, as well as the Pathfinder podcast, and every so often the Armchair Admirals and Generals. And if you did enjoy this, hit that follow button, on Twitch, subscribe for more content, hit the like button if you enjoyed this, and join us live at twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/the Captain's Table podcast on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. We'd love to have you come join the chat live as we come through. Thank you for watching, and like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.